What's up guys, Neil from Cardinal Lacrosse. Today we're going to answer some of your questions and reveal our contest winners. Okay, in last week's video we asked you guys to leave us some questions that we would answer in this week's video, and we would pick one that we liked the best and they would win this Evo 4. So let's start with a couple of questions first and then we'll get to the contest winner. The first question comes from Derek Pham, and he asked us, how did you discover the game of lacrosse and what made you guys fall in love with the sport? Also, what inspired you guys to create Cardinal Lacrosse on YouTube and other social media? I guess I'll start with the first part of your question, which is when did we discover lacrosse? I found lacrosse when I was in 10th grade. My high school didn't have a team and some guys wanted to change that. So they sent around a petition asking for people that would support the team and or play on the team. I signed up and a group of 5 or 6 of us bought $30 sticks from the local sporting goods store, and we would meet on the practice fields after school and play what we thought was lacrosse. We had no gear other than our sticks, and we set up a table up on its end, and that was our goal. That actually did lead to us getting a lacrosse team my junior year, which I played on my junior year and my senior year. Then I played club in college. College is where the second half of your question comes into play about where did I fall in love with the game. Truthfully, I loved the game of lacrosse, but I was not the best player because I didn't want to work at it. I would rather go hang out with my friends than go hit the wall and do things like that. When I got to college, me and I think one other guy on my hall played my freshman year, and then by the end of my freshman year, I think there were about 8 of us on my hall that played, because me and that guy had made really good friends on our hall, and they came out to our games and we started showing them the game and how to play and everything, and they loved it. And that's where I really grew a passion for the game, was when I started teaching other people to play the game. And I may go more into my background on the game and stuff in another video at another time. If you guys want that, I'll gladly talk more about it in depth at a different time. The third part of that question was what made us want to start Cardinal Lacrosse. I'll say a lot of it came from me. I have always been a gearhead in everything. I play a bunch of sports and I'm always super interested in the gear and what kind of things I can get. It's just always been very much a part of me and what interested me. And so I watch a lot of YouTube channels and other websites and stuff for other sports that I play and other sports that I'm interested in. And they make these really cool dynamic videos about the equipment and what goes into it and how it performs and stuff. And I got to looking at the lacrosse content on YouTube, and there wasn't anything like that, which I thought was weird because it's such a gear intensive sport. So I really thought that this was a hole in the lacrosse community that someone should fill. And then I started talking to some of my friends and they said, well, why don't you fill it? I created Cardinal Lacrosse and here we are. The next question comes from Brady Williams. He writes, what are your thoughts on composite shafts? Are they a gimmick or are the performance benefits worth the premium cost? Brady, I'm going to answer your question with yes. They are both worth the added cost and a gimmick. And what I mean by that is I sort of picture it a lot like whip, in that if you know how to use it, it can benefit your game, but most people don't. They see it as some cool new piece of tech, and in that case it is a gimmick because people don't really know how to use it or what it really means or anything, so it's not really helping them all that much. But yeah, if you knew exactly what you were doing and how to make it fit your game, yeah, I think it could be a useful tool that was worth the added cost. Okay, next up we got a question from Damien, and I apologize, Damien, I'm not even going to attempt to try to say your last name because I know I'm going to butcher it. Damien asked us, I want to start playing with a traditional as my gamer. So in your opinion, how do you feel about traditional versus mesh? It's a good question, Damien. I gotta admit, I don't have a ton of experience with traditional. I think my first 2 lacrosse sticks were traditional. After that, I learned that I didn't really have the patience to keep maintaining a traditional pocket, so I moved to mesh, and I've never really gone back. Sort of like the composite shaft question, I would say that if you have the patience and the knowledge to constantly be maintaining your pocket, making small adjustments, tweaks, things here and there to keep that pocket dialed in the way that you want, I would say that it's absolutely better than mesh. You can't beat the feel, the hold, the control that you have over the pocket. I think that most mesh companies are trying to make their products act more like traditional. So again, if you have the patience to maintain it, it's absolutely going to be better for you, I think. Our next question comes from Spaceline. He asked us, what's the difference between all of the NAS heads? Spaceline, the NAS head is a head that Warrior came out with where they hollowed out the sidewalls and injected it with nitrogen because nitrogen is lighter than air. They ended up with a drastically lighter head than most of the heads on the market at the time, and a lot of people really loved it. A lot of people also didn't. They thought that it made it easier to break and stuff like that. So Warrior came out with the same exact head, but without the nitrogen technology, and that's the no NAS. Recently, Warrior released the NAS 2, which is just an updated version of the NAS X, where they added more sidewalls and tweaked some things here and there. So that's really the difference in all the three main versions of the NAS. Our next question comes from Betsy. She asked us, how do you guys feel about adding a shot clock to NCAA play? That's a great question. I have to say I'm fairly traditional when it comes to the state of the game in the NCAA. I like that teams can have sort of their own identity. Some of them are a little more methodical in their offensive approach, and some others are like Albany and they just fly up and down the field. And I sort of like that. I don't want to see teams just not attempting to even go to goal and just stalling, running out time and stuff. So I'm actually sort of a fan of the current system. It's not perfect. I do think that there are some tweaks that need to be made here and there, but I don't like seeing teams forced into bad shots. I was at an MLL game today. Teams would come down and they'd get right into their offense and they'd create good looks and they would just miss the cage, or a defender would get a stick on the shooter's stick and the shot would come out just a little bit higher than if he had been able to follow all the way through, and he missed the cage. So the clock wouldn't reset and their shot clock would run out and the ball would turn over. And I feel like it forces people into dumb, bad shots for no real reason, just for the sake of drawing up more goals. And I'm perfectly fine with a 12 to 16 goal game. I don't need to see 19, 20 point games to have enjoyed a lacrosse game. So I'm much more of a traditionalist when it comes to shot clocks, and I don't really want to see one implemented in the NCAA. So now we come to the contest winner portion. It was submitted to us by Caesar Orta. He's going to win the Warrior Evo 4. So Caesar, when you see this, probably the best way to get a hold of me would be to DM me on Instagram and send me your address, and we'll get this mailed out to you early next week. Anyway, Caesar asked us, how would you describe lacrosse to a person who has never heard of the game? I gotta say, Caesar, I picked this question because I never even really thought about how I would answer that kind of question. I liked that it challenged me to think about something new. I thought about this long and hard, and I kind of hate my answer because I always hate describing lacrosse using newer sports terms. But basically, I would do two things. One, I would use more common knowledge sports, basketball and hockey and stuff. Also, I would super simplify the game because otherwise you sort of get into a whole history of the game. I've had situations where before I had any idea that I was doing it, I was telling people the history of the game all the way from the Haudenosaunee. It's not an easy thing to describe to someone who has no idea and has never seen it. How would you guys describe it? I don't know, maybe leave that in the comment section below. Let us know how you would describe lacrosse. So again, thanks for that question, Caesar. Hit me up on Instagram. We'll get that out to you next week. Speaking of Instagram and contests, we ran one earlier this week asking you guys to predict the score of our MLL Game of the Week. The winner of that was Proctor Pack. He actually predicted the score within 1 point for each team. He predicted the Launch would win 18-17, and the Launch actually won 17-16. That was pretty impressive guessing there, Proctor Pack. So again, if you'll hit me up on Instagram, I'll make sure that we get your prize mailed out to you again early this week. We loved you guys' questions. Keep asking them. We'll keep answering them. This week, we're going to ask you guys to leave us a comment in the section below and let us know what you guys want to see, whether it's more segments like this, specific equipment that you want to see us review, anything that you guys want to see, because we want to put out some content that you guys want to see. So any segment ideas that you have, let us know, because we're here to make video for you guys. That's all we got for you guys this week. Next week, we're back with a brand new performance review. So until then, I'm out.